So first and foremost, thank you all for coming. Thank you for taking time out of your day to listen to stories, to come and connect. That's what we're all about here at Startup Grind. So if you don't know, Startup Grind originated out of San Francisco. They just wanted to hear entrepreneur stories. And that led to what it is today. 3.5 million entrepreneurs in their global community, over 600 countries, 600 chapters, 125 countries. It's big. And really the reason why it's here in Baton Rouge is because there was nothing else. And this is a proven model in every other startup hub around the world. So I think it's fair to say it's time Baton Rouge caught up with that. So being an entrepreneur, as many of you are, and who in here, let me show of hands, would classify themselves as an entrepreneur? Okay. Who in here would classify, maybe if not an entrepreneur, an aspiring entrepreneur? Yeah. And what about lastly, entrepreneur supporters? These are people that work in the startup for a startup. These are people that support other entrepreneurs, such as my fiance. And I'd say that that's the hardest one, entrepreneur supporters, because they have to make the sacrifices just like everybody else. Now, a lot of us, if you are an entrepreneur, you may think, this is in my blood. This is the life that I was destined to live. I'm going to be an entrepreneur. And then with that, you're like, hey, everything is an idea for you. Everything is a business for you. So what happens? You take the leap, you do your thing, you're finally, living your dream, right? But then it may not feel that way. You may start second guessing yourself. And you might be like, maybe I can just go back to that job and, just get my paycheck. I've thought about it hundreds of times. So it's no, illusion how hard it is to do this. And I think in many cases people think of an entrepreneur as this amazing life that they're living and it's going to be fun. It's not. It's a lot of up and downs. Every single day, you start the day with, hell yeah, let's get after this shit. Midway through the day, you go, why the hell am I doing this? Like, no one's responding to my emails, it's just not working. Hey, Amanda, would you mind turning that knob right there?
Oh, yeah.
Thank you, that's perfect. So, if you took that step to become an entrepreneur, there's always a life of expectation, You start that company, there's only one goal, to be number one. And in your heart, you're like, I want to be smoking that cigar like Joe Burrow, okay? I want to go undefeated, and I'm going to rock, and I'm going to disrupt the entire startup community. I'm going to be the market leader. That's how it went, right? Yeah, pretty much, right? Except, as you go through the season, even if you're right on the brink of success, it may not turn out that way. You may end up like that. And no one wants to be that. Not even him. But guys, I bring this up because there's an illusion around entrepreneurship. So this hits personal for me because as an Iranian immigrant, I came here, my family, I've been raised in businesses my entire life. At the time, I hated that shit. I was like, I just want to go play with the other kids, so on and so forth. But that learning process, I tell my parents they cursed me to never want to work for anyone again, or at least work for a team that's doing something good. Because that illusion, when people think of entrepreneurs, is that. Chill on a beach, you send a few text messages, the 4-hour work week, done. That's what it is. But it's not. I'll show you. And so this is the part. So this is what I think the true entrepreneur looks like. That's my dad, okay? In a restaurant, never cooked before in his life, but saw an opportunity when he came here. And if you think that that's a happy smile, it's not. That's a fucking grimace. Like, I don't know what the hell I'm doing. That's that. And then, unfortunately, that's what many entrepreneurs have to face. But that's okay. So this is the moment where I kind of want to turn the tables. When I left college, I was looking for help. I was looking for guidance, and I felt alone. I felt that this community, this city, was siloed off. You want to reach out to someone, you go meet the leader, and then they decide who may be the right person for you to meet. You go to these events, there's 100 people. This morning, we went to the power, breakfast, leadership, lunch, amazing speakers, okay? Inspiring, innovative things happen in Baton Rouge. What happens at these events? We show up, we eat breakfast. Thank you guys. Everyone gets up, dashes out. And again, you showed up. You did what you needed to do. But somehow you left with nothing. That's almost like every event that's here. So we're going to do things a little different right now. If this is your first Startup Ground event, stand up. Oh, man. Okay. If you know more than, let's say, 3 people in this room, sit down. If you know 2 or more people, sit down. 1, 2, 3, 4. Do you know 2 people? Not just, okay. Okay, good. Okay, both of you guys then. Perfect. So that's what we're going to do. Everybody has cards, right? The Let's Connect cards. So these guys, what do you do? Come on.
So what do I do presently, or what do I want to do with my
your name and what your current goals are. You got 15 seconds.
So look, my name is Jonathan Guidry. I currently work for a large-scale industrial contractor in Baton Rouge, but my friend Justin here introduced me to entrepreneurship, and now I'm running wild with it. I've got 4 businesses that people want to start with me, and I want to start with them because I'm tired of working for me.
So are there any challenges you're facing right now?
Yeah, so just knowledge is the biggest.
Knowledge?
Right? Yeah.
Around what?
How do you get started, right?
How do you get started? Okay, stop there. Okay, who in this room can help this guy on how to get started? If you can, write your name and number on that card, and let's give to him right now. Anyone. Damn!
We got 1 pen.
We use all e-cards, man. We
Yeah,
don't write anymore. We
Does
use
anyone
e-cards.
have business cards?
We use e-cards.
I'm paperless, right?
I'm paperless.
No. Monica. Okay, grab the card from Monica. Go ahead. Anyone else? Yes. Go. That guy wants to help you. Go.
We want the same back.
I'll get y'all some pens. Okay. I'll leave that there. Pass it around. Okay. John, come back up to the
Yeah, sure thing.
Okay. You're working on getting started. What else? Anything else you're dealing with?
This is going to go real personal, but I've got type 1 diabetes, so
Yes.
I'm worried about, so I got to keep some medical insurance for me and my family, and how do I do that while being an entrepreneur?
I got a great company for you.
There you go.
Hey, give it a round of applause for John. Thank you.
So,
All right, 15 seconds. Who are you? What are you doing? What do you need help with?
I'm Justin Chris. As Jonathan said, we kind of help build a lot of the chemical plants here, and we're trying to kind of take away the carbon footprint of what we built through coming from EcoSteward. Kind of brings carbon offsets to people. So we want to help make Baton Rouge a healthier place for our kids.
That's amazing. So what are you dealing with today? What are some of the challenges you have?
I have 2 kids, a wife, and I'm a triathlete, so I try to put all that into
So time management.
time management.
Issues in the business itself. Let's talk about that.
Yeah.
Do you have any issues around? So let's see if I may just. So development. What do you need development needs?
So I will commit myself to trying to develop everything on my own.
Okay.
And sacrifice my child, my kids, my family for that. So I
Okay.
think there's people that know more than me that can do it on a better aspect of my time.
Okay. Try to be specific right now. So you have an opportunity with
Yeah.
over 40 people in this room to potentially get help.
Yeah.
So what is it that you need help with? Ask, and then people will give you their cards if they can help you.
Yeah, I would say mobile development.
Mobile development. Can anyone help them? There you go. Cards. So go ahead and go get it.
Yeah.
Yeah, go. There you go.
Hey, man.
More.
Y'all are making it rain.
You got to pick, man.
Appreciate it. Appreciate it.
There you go. Should have brought a purse.
Racked up.
Yes. All right, give a round of applause for Justin. So, I'll be honest, guys, this would have went a lot smoother if I would have supplied pens. But that's okay. I'll deal with it. I'll go home tonight and I'll think about it all night, but that's okay. The point of this is, is that we live in a community where people are there to help us. We can collaborate. We can help each other. We can serve and not sell. And that's one of the things that we're trying to get across here, okay? So that when you leave, at least the cards you have in your pocket, business cards, or these Let's Connect cards, whatever it is, see how you can serve and give to other people, because that will come back to you. And that's happened time and time again. That's something me and Vishal talk about. So, something we're going to give back to you guys. If you have an idea, a business, or you just like to talk, if we're going to feature 5 people on a live podcast right after this event at 7:30, 7:40. If you want to be a part of that, raise your hand. Boom, boom. Do you have a card? Okay, Patrick. Patrick's going to come around, grab the cards from you if you want to be featured, and then he's going to pick 4 to 5 people, and then right after this, you're going to be on a live podcast. And this gives you an opportunity to take 2 minutes, share what you're doing, and get the message out. And then we'll follow up with you. We'll tag you where you want to be tagged, but we want to give back and help you get your message out. Again, one more thing. We're supposed to have a bowl for this, or not on paper. I was just put it in there, but we didn't. But that's okay. That's okay. Great, great. Last opportunity. Does anyone else want to do that? Okay. So Patrick will pick after this. One more thing, guys. So we are being helped out by Concepts, a planner that is for young entrepreneurs, and we have a Google Home Mini to give away. As part of this, if you post on your story, on your Facebook or Instagram, and just tag Startup Grind VR, at the end of this, we'll write it all out, and we'll pick out of a bowl, and you'll get some free stuff. So if you want to do that, go ahead.
Can you do it on LinkedIn or is it Facebook? Or
So LinkedIn doesn't have stories, so we're going to go with Facebook and Instagram. All right, so let's get to what we're here for tonight. Vishal Vasanji is one of those guys that I distinctly remember, and he may not. When I first met him, we were in the tech park, and he's walking by. He's like, "What's up?" I'm like, "What's up, man?" He's like, "I'm like, my name's Kazra. I have a startup." He's like, "Yeah, what does it do?" And I'm like, "It does this and this and this." How does it make money? I'm like, "This way." He goes, "Ah, all right, man, good luck," and walks away. So me, it's one of my first experiences in a tech park. I'm like, "Oh shit, I'm gonna challenge like this every day. How does this work?" You know. From there, I realized he was just having a busy day, and I guess that's how the gear that he's in is like.
I'm working on that.
Yeah, he's in 4th gear all the time. You know. You should do a softer intro, really. But a little background on him as we get into it. Vishal has 7 years of experience in the healthcare industry as an entrepreneur. He's demonstrated the ability to grow healthcare companies from startup to multi-million dollars in revenue in less than 24 months. With a passion for technology and healthcare, Vishal brings a unique perspective to digital health solutions for medical practice, something that's really big here in our state. So, prior to Relief, which is the startup that he has now, he started an urgent care company, Patient Plus Urgent Care, that grew to 4 locations with over $4 million in revenue in less than 18 months. So Vishal brings something that many of us maybe didn't get the opportunity to have, which is prior experience in the industry, and use that to his advantage. This experience gave him an advantage on identifying the pain points of medical practice and building a product to actually address them. So prior to Patient Plus Urgent Care, he acquired and tripled revenue of a health services company within 24 months. And Vishal graduated from Loyola University in Chicago, which is going to be an interesting story, with a master's in business administration and the University of New Orleans with a bachelor's in finance. So with that said, please give a round of applause for Vishal Vasanji.
Made me feel like a rock star.
You are. So much of a rock star. I have to, your accolades are long. I have to read from it. So, before we get started, man, really, I had said that a lot of this has to do with stories. So, let's go back. Before Relief, before all the success in healthcare, before college, where does Vishal's story start?
Man, First of all, thanks for inviting me, and it's good to see a full room like this in Baton Rouge, and seeing the startup community and the entrepreneurship community kind of growing, right? Like Kasra, I come from first generation immigrants, right? So my parents came from India in the 70s, landed in San Francisco, California, bought a hotel, back then hotels were really motels, the small ones, that they had borrowed money from his uncle, and they did that. And so I'm still not sure how my parents came from San Francisco, California to Bogalusa, Louisiana in the 80s, but it happened, right? With no internet, nothing. I don't know how it happened. My life would be different if I was still there. I'd be a Niners fan, not a Saints fan. But they did that. I was born, and then we moved to Winsboro, Louisiana, which is where my story really starts, right? So I spent 17 years in Winsboro, and at the age of 15, my parents flew to India for 2 months. I ran the motel, 50-room motel by myself. My uncle lived 30 minutes away, who would come every day to check on it, but I was there basically renting rooms, and getting the housekeeping staff to clean the rooms and stuff like that. So I did that for 2 months at the age of 15, right? From there, I went to a boarding school in Natchitoches. So since I've been 16 years old, I've been on my own, meaning really no parents day-to-day interaction, right? No, they were there to help me with money, but that's about it. I'm kidding. But they, since 16, I've been kind of living this independent life, right? Ended up at LSU. Changed major, it was going to take too long to graduate, so I ended up at UNO. Graduated from UNO, and this is where the story kind of gets interesting, and probably one of my most, I'd say, one of the accomplishments I highlight when I was going on job interviews. So my first day of orientation in grad school, I was supposed to end up at Loyola University, New Orleans, right? First day of orientation, we're in there, they're talking to us about it. Hey, y'all need to get the hell out of here, Katrina's about to hit. School hasn't even started yet, right? We're just trying to figure out where our classes were and stuff like that. So I get home, and at home back in Laplace, my parents moved and retired in Laplace with my uncle. And Katrina hits, everyone knows the story, right? Well, the school was wiped out, and I have no idea where I'm supposed to go. So my buddy was doing his PhD in math at LSU, so I was sleeping on his couch in Mid-City. And he goes, hey, I found out through LSU that they're taking Loyola students all over the country for until the school opens. At the time, my sister lived an hour from Chicago, and I visited Chicago, and I was like, man, I really want to live in Chicago at some point in my life. So I said, why not? What the hell? Let me go try. So not knowing, being naive, I thought Loyola University New Orleans is connected with Loyola University Chicago, but it's not, right? I just being naive. So I called them, and I said, hey, I want to come. They're like, sure, come on down. You can stay for a quarter. So literally, I call, I get home, I pack my suitcase. My parents aren't even here at the time. They're at my uncle's house in Charlotte, North Carolina. So literally, I pack 2 suitcases full of clothes, get on a flight, land in Chicago, called a family friend who lived 20 minutes outside of Chicago, and I'm sleeping on his couch, right? And every day I'm commuting back and forth on a train. By the way, there's no phone, there's no smartphones. So literally, I have a map in my hand. And
What year is this, to give the setting?
This is 06.
05,
06. So I've got a map in hand of the train system in the city, and going to school. Basically, during the day, I'm apartment hunting, and at night, I'm going to grad school. I'm taking classes. So I did that for about a month, and I was like, fuck this, I don't want to go back home. There's nothing at home. So I go to the dean's office, and I'm like, what can I do to stay here? He's like, if you pull a 4.0 this quarter, and if you get 2 letters of recommendation, you can stay here. At the time, the school was a top 25 school in the country. So I was like, all right, this is my shot.
Yeah.
So I pulled a 4.0, I got 2 recommendations, and I graduated from a top 25 university without ever applying to it. So I backdoored my way into the university.
The ultimate way to get accepted.
Yeah. So the reason I say it's my most accomplished is because I literally landed in a city with nothing, not knowing anybody but one person, and I made my way through it. And today I have lifelong friends from Chicago, and I try to go back as much as possible because I love the city. Why am I here? Because it was too damn cold. It was literally, it was April. I look out my window, there's a foot of snow. I call my buddies back here, and they're like, we got shorts and t-shirts on. I was like, I'm graduating in May, I'm getting the hell out of here. Luckily, I got a job at Shaw. So I was working in corporate finance at Shaw for 7 years. We're an entrepreneurial family, right? Their immigration, they never work for anybody. My parents had their own, you know the story, you know how it goes, right? So I knew I was never going to work for somebody my whole life. So I used that 7 years as I was a sponge. I literally asked every question. I walked into every meeting not caring. Not caring in the sense that I didn't care about my future, I cared about learning, right? So I was asking questions that most people are scared to ask. I'm asking executives questions that they're scared to ask, that other employees would be scared to ask.
Did you think you were stepping outside of your role or your responsibilities?
No, I was smart about
the questions themselves?
Yeah, so I was strategic about it. I wasn't obnoxious or that obnoxious young guy, right? You had to navigate your way through it, but I wasn't scared to ask the question during a meeting. I wasn't scared to follow up after a meeting and go to the VP's office and say, hey, here's what I think, right? Because I'm literally trying to just soak it all in, trying to learn as much as I can from corporate America, because I knew I wanted to take that into my own world, right? So 7 years of doing that, I had an opportunity to buy the health services company with an attorney that we always worked with at the company. So me and him got together, bought this company, and that's kind of where it all started. That's where I really got to put into motion what I thought everything I learned. Very quickly I realized that what you learn in corporate America doesn't work when you only got 5 people in the office, right? It's
Absolutely.
2 completely different ways to operate. So it took, there were a lot of growing pains, there were a lot of, I never had to run payroll, but here I am with a baby and just had a baby and I'm running payroll at 3 o'clock in the morning, right? Entering timesheets, doing all that stuff so that people get paid the next day.
So
That's when he says it's not glamorous, that's not that. That's when I was like, what the hell am I doing? I was making good money working for somebody, clocking in, clocking out, and here I am 3 o'clock in the morning with a baby and trying to run payroll.
Absolutely makes no sense.
Makes no sense,
Why would you
right.
even do this?
But 24 months later, we sell the company.
So you're 15 years old. You're working, running your family's business, the motel. How did that translate into the role that you were in? Because like you come from this background, and then you're put in this corporate role. Like, what was the out?
I'm gonna ask a question. How many of you at the age of 15 could talk to a stranger and sell something? That's pretty good. That's what it's all about.
Yes. And I think it makes sense, given that this room is full of entrepreneurs. Yeah. So it's good that we even have that, right?
It taught me to negotiate, right? Like if I'm in a room at the time at $28 and they're like, I don't have $28. Okay, well I can go so it's 25. I don't have 25. Well then I can't help you, right?
Yeah.
So it kind of a little bit of that back and forth. You kind of at the time I didn't realize it, but I use that. I wasn't. Now I'm not scared to talk to anybody in any way.
So let's talk about the transition then. You have this background, you get into your corporate role, and now you're seeking to buy out this company. Something you haven't done before, right?
Well, I was working in the M&A department, so I had a lot of experience buying companies for the company.
Got it. So why that company? How did that come about?
Yeah. So
do you go searching for? Because I think people here like, me personally even thinking.
Yeah.
So how did that come about? You knew someone that was selling. You went and searched for it. What happened?
No, so my brother-in-law is a doctor in the Bay Area, and so me and him had always kind of talked about opportunities in healthcare, right, from a business perspective. Even in grad school, we started a company, which I kind of glossed over, but we started a company called NurseLink International, and we would bring nurses from India to America to work in hospitals, right? Before it really took off, we got screwed by we hooked up with an Irish vendor, and we gave him $20,000 and he ran with it.
Yeah.
And so we learned a lot during that process. So the company didn't go anywhere, but we learned what to do, what not to do. So I always wanted to do something in healthcare just because of my connection with my brother-in-law and him being so entrepreneurial.
Because
the opportunity fell on that. Yeah.
Because healthcare is easy to understand and it's a really simple process, and that's why
exactly. I think about it today.
All the outcomes are perfect.
It's not regulated. It's
it's a really great industry.
We use it every day, right?
Absolutely. So this leads me.
It fell into all that. So the attorney was like, "Hey, I got this company. Are you interested?"
Right. So that kind of leads me to Relief, because you're tackling a really big market with a lot of big players, if anyone here has been pitching before to investors, you're looking at them and they're like, you're going to break into this market that's well established, that really is innovating on its own. What led to that decision to start Relief? So I went ahead. How did Relief start? Let's talk about that right now.
So the genesis of it began at Patient Plus. So when we were building clinics, we were spending $1.5 million per location to build it and get it to profitability. Right? I knew that was not a sustainable business model. It was going to take a shit ton of cash to get to where we wanted to get to. So I said, if I spend $1.5 million on one facility, how can I leverage what I already sunk into the building to try to generate as much revenue I can out of it as possible? So at the time, technology and healthcare were kind of just coming up. It was in its infancy, right?
And then the year of the founding, so that we all know.
2015.
2015.
Yeah,
Okay.
2015. I'm a inside tech geek, so I love that kind of stuff. So I was researching telemedicine and how you could do it. And so I was kind of putting all the pieces together, but there was a lot of friction in the marketplace in the sense that it wasn't as easy to use for people. So I had the idea, I had all the research, I had all the technology that I know I wanted to use, but the patient experience was not there for me to go implement it. So it kind of just sat on the shelf.
Yeah.
As technology kind of got better and better, I wanted to go in that direction. My partner didn't, so I sold my stake to him, and that's how I kind of got into Relief.
So just for people in the room, especially if they're have started or looking to start, so you knew the knowledge of the healthcare industry in that moment.
Mm-hmm.
So you had a lot of that research. Are there specifics within that you're looking at and you're saying, certain metrics in the patient care, you go, I can improve that, or this price is too high, I know it can be lower. Like what, across that industry, what were you looking at that you go, I can solve this with Relief? Because I feel like people need that. They need to, otherwise it's a shot in the dark.
Yeah. So while I own urgent care clinics, I realized that it was a pain in the ass for people to go to. Right. Me having 2 children, they always get sick after 9 o'clock. There's not a doctor's office that's open after 9 o'clock.
Right.
And so to get care, it's like it was impossible. You had to go to ER. So a lot of it was based around convenience. And right around that time, Netflix was coming up, Uber was coming up. So I coined this term, consumerization of healthcare, which is now taken off. I should have patented it back then, but I always told internally within our company, we need to be thinking like consumers for our company, right? Which is why if you go to Patient Plus, it's a very different experience than late after hours, right? It's a very consumer-friendly experience. And so that's where we were going is, how do we put our mindset of what the consumer is feeling and thinking and then deliver to meet the needs of them? So we put ourselves in their shoes. So I just knew that I wanted more convenience out of going to the doctor, and this met that need, right?
And so at the time, and I don't know this, were there other companies like yours out there in the time you were launched? Because 2015, I don't recall,
So we didn't launch in
when did it all-
2015. We
Right.
launched in, James, you and I hooked up in when? 2017? Yeah, we hooked up in 2017. So
Yeah.
for about a year there, it was a lot of just research and trying to see what was out there, right?
Right.
And then James, who's my co-founder in the audience, we hooked up in 17 and just really started developing the product. And it changed 3 times before we actually went live. So
Sounds about right.
I told some of my students in class today, your idea that you have today is not going to be what you go live with. It's going to change over time. And so,
Is anyone in here on the first iteration of their product? Yes. Okay, so that's a pivotal moment. Let's dive into that.
yeah.
The change. How did you identify it? What steps did you take?
Yeah, so our first product was remote patient monitoring. So it was hook up Bluetooth devices like blood pressure cuff, scale, Fitbit, and aggregate that data and present it to doctors. Well, we quickly realized that the market was not ready for that. So then I said, well, and then telemedicine was kind of coming up, so I said, let's pivot to telemedicine, which is connecting directly to doctors. Well, we did that, and then we didn't quickly realize, but we realized, again, that chart that he said, we're going to go capture tons of market share, like we're going to beat every competitor out there because we're smaller, we're more agile, we can make decisions better, we can negotiate contracts faster, and we can make a lower price point if we want to. All that went out the door when people were like, here's another product that's 3 years ahead of you.
Yeah.
Right? They've already got all the bells and whistles. They've already got everything, right? We don't, why would we want to work with you? You've got no customers, no clients, no nothing. So then we really had to take a step back and say, how do we truly drive and create value for our customer? And that's where today's Relief, which the pivoted product is going to go live in April. But that's, and when we went to market with that to look at customers, they're like, well, that's what we do. We don't see this anywhere else. We don't see a company like that.
So that customer validation piece, because when you say third product, I just want to look at Scott and be like, we feel the pain there, and wish we would have done a lot more customer validation. Wish we would have talked to people and recorded it, and made charts of it and made it very clear.
Well, I'll take a step
After
back.
the-
When you're doing
Go
research
ahead.
and when you're talking to people, there's a lot of yes, that's a great idea, that's a lot of
Yeah.
great. But when it comes time to cut a check and sign that contract,
Yeah.
you get a lot of, let me think about it, and then you don't hear back from them. So that still happens today, right?
Yeah.
Like I'll start the day and I'll talk to James. James, man, I had this great conversation. They want to try it. 2 weeks later, he's like, what happened with it? Man, I don't know.
They don't want to
you
do
know,
it. They don't want to do
When
it.
it comes to my time to meet the rubber to the road,
Yeah.
they're nowhere to be found, right? So
You
even
need-
when you're doing your custom validation, a lot
Yeah.
of people are gonna say that's a great idea, yeah, we'd use it, yeah, we use it. But the true test is when somebody cuts a check for it.
Do you find that here in Baton Rouge, here in Louisiana, or in other
Super tough.
areas as well?
It's way more tough here.
Way more here.
Yeah.
And I think that's true in a sense that, guys, we live in an area that's, this is Southern hospitality. This is the area where you tell an idea and they go, that's a great idea. You should pursue that. You should do it. Yes, yes, yes. We should meet. Well, I have time next year, you know, but I'm joking, but in a month from now I have time. Versus you have other areas like New York and fast-paced areas in which you tell them an idea and they go, yeah, that's pretty stupid. Like, that's not going to work. You know,
I
or
think
they're like, that's really
it's
great.
that,
Let's
and I
move
think
forward.
here locally,
Is that true? No?
innovation is a little bit slower to take off, right? So people aren't as open to. There's definitely pockets of people and companies in Baton Rouge that are very open to innovation, right? And want to hear it all. But then a lot of it is just, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? Which it's a cultural thing, and it'll change over time. But you go to California and people write you a $50,000 check for an idea on a napkin, right? Here I can have 10 customers and doing $500,000 in revenue, and they're still like, you don't have enough customers, right? So it's a little bit of a cultural thing, which, you know. But at the same time, the right idea at the right time will get funded and we'll get customers. So it's you just got to keep hustling and keep grinding away.
Okay, so that's really prevalent to where we are. So how are you overcoming that? And we can actually, let's take a step back again. If I may, you are actually raising a round currently, right? By the way, there was so many people here that put funding as one of their needs, and I believe we had 2 people at funding as an experience. It may not be because no one here has experience in funding, but it's who wants to talk about funding in an area that never gives funding, you know? But you're doing that right now. You're raising, right?
It is probably the single hardest thing I've done and will continue to do ever. Fundraising is not fun. It's the fun in fundraising is not fun.
Yeah.
It is actually the complete opposite. And guess what? As a founder entrepreneur, it's a full-time job. Like, you have to fundraise and operate a company at the same time.
Yeah.
But you know what investors will tell you? They'll tell you need to operate your company. Well, if I operate my company, I can't go fundraise. Well, if you don't go fundraise, there's no company to operate. So you are stuck in this catch-22 where you're balancing trying to go raise money, which it is a full-time job because you don't just approach him and say, cut me a $50 check. You got to talk to him for months and months and months. Even find a back way to get a hold of him, which we can get into with how we got Chris.
Right.
But you got to find relationships and connections to him before you can approach him, so that when you talk to him, which I don't know if you have $50,000, but if you do, come talk to me. You got to find that relationship and cultivate it before he's going to be willing to give you a check. Because 9 times out of 10, he's not investing in the company; he's investing in you, right? And if he just met you for the first time, he's not going to write a check, right? So that's the full-time job part is finding that person, building the relationship, continuing to build that relationship, and then finding the right moment to ask for money. If you ask for money day one, you're never going to get it. You got to find that perfect moment to ask for money.
Okay, so let's talk about that process. First off, how many people in here see funding as a current challenge because they're doing it, or something that they need to go after? Show of hands. Okay, yeah. Why do you need funding? Like anyone, because I feel like there's companies that could potentially bootstrap and continue pushing for themselves.
Yeah.
What made you decide, no more? I have to go out and I need to raise X number of dollars.
So there's 2 ways to grow companies, right? There's the slow and steady growth, right? Or there's the let's put gas on the fire and grow, right?
Right.
I am of the mindset, and that's just my personal opinion, that if you're a tech company, you need to be put fire on it. Because guess what? There's somebody else thinking of the next idea, right? And so if you don't jump on it, somebody else is going to overtake you, right? So you need funding to scale your company as quickly as possible. There's challenges in that, but that's the fun part, right? I think somebody here mentioned about keeping culture and growing and stuff like that. that's the challenging part, right? But you need funding to grow your company, right? And then there's a slow and steady way where you bootstrap it, you just kind of put back what you earn, and then you just kind of multiply how much you put back in. You put 100 this month, 200 next month, 300 next month.
Right.
It's a slow and steady way. It is one way to do it, but the next guy that comes has a great idea that's got funding, he's going to beat you, guaranteed.
Yeah, absolutely.
Unless you just have such a superior product, right? But I think Scott Wilbur said it right. It's about the treasure chest that you have, right? The more money you have, the more you can. It's easier to compete. And that's the honest truth.
So let's talk about getting the money. Let's talk about the thing everybody wants. What's that first step? There's investment memos you have to write. There's pitch decks you have to give. You have to get connected, which is one of the reasons we're here. Whether it's meeting someone that knows someone, meeting someone that has 50K. I don't know. But if they have 50K, you should approach them.
Before you can even approach somebody, and I think you did something great about giving him 15 seconds to pitch his idea.
Yeah.
Right? Because that's what it is. You really only have 30 seconds to a minute to tell somebody what it is that you do. Because then they'll check out, right? Yeah. So you got to really, really know what it is you're selling. You got to really, really know your product, and you got to boil it down into one sentence. Which is that was very hard. It took me probably 6 months to boil down what we do into one sentence. And I still feel I don't have it now.
Okay.
I'm still perfect.
So in that moment, let me put you on the spot.
Yeah, go ahead.
What is the pitch?
Yeah, we bring the doctor's office to the patient.
Perfect. Okay. And then that what does that do? That entices more. I mean, really.
Yeah. So
now I want to ask
how many people are intrigued by like what that means, right? And so now I have your attention. Now I have the next 5 minutes to explain what I do, right?
Exactly.
I was told that when we went to Silicon Valley in August, and they were like, you literally have 30 seconds when you're in a room full of investors to get their attention because they have 100 other people that want their money, right? And so it's all about grabbing the person's attention. So before you can ask for money, you need to know what it is you're selling and boil it down to like 30 seconds. Be able to tell it.
Okay. So overcoming that, here in Louisiana, fundraising is very hard. Scott and I from Mentor are raising around currently. The only checks we have from family and friends. But as we start stepping outside of that, you start looking and it's just a ghost town. Like, you know what I mean? Like the money isn't like, nobody wants to give money to tech, or at least that hasn't been urged enough.
Yeah.
What's been your approach towards raising? So let's say you've kind of got the concrete pieces. You know why you want to raise. You know what you're going to spend it on. You have your deck. You have the pitch, the elevator pitch down. How are you going about and building the relationship necessary to raise money?
Yeah, it helps being here for 10 years, right? I mean, I know a lot of people, and so I can always ask and try to get older people. If you're brand new, there's great resources, shameless plug, like Todd over at the Tech Park that can help connect you with the right people. They may not have the money, but they'll connect you, right? It's all about connecting you with the right person who can then connect you. So there's groups out here that you can reach out to and say, hey, I have an idea. Are you willing to listen? How can you help me, right? You can't walk in saying, how can I raise money? It's like, hey, can you put me in touch with somebody that may be interested? And next thing you know, you'll find one person. And I may have money and may not be interested in your idea, but I know somebody that does, right? Because usually people that are investing know other people that invest, right? So once you get that first person that really has capital to invest, don't be discouraged if they don't give it to you, because they probably know somebody that will give it to you, right? So, and then from then on, it's just a grind and a hustle. Like, you're gonna get 100 no's before you get one yes, right? And so you just have to have that mental toughness that every time you hear no, it's like, all right, I'm just gonna keep moving forward. Now, we all have our moments. I called James one time and I said, what the fuck am I doing? Like, am I messing up? I keep getting told no. Like, it must be me. Like, it must not be the message. It must be me, the messenger. Like, what do I need to fix? Like, literally, I had a whole day where I was so down on myself. Woke up the next morning ready to conquer the world, right? So you're going to have those moments, and it's just about pushing through, right?
So talking about those connections, you have recently brought on, if anyone doesn't know, does anyone know who Chris Moe is? Yes. CEO of Waiter, right? Or former CEO, now chairman of Waiter. So you brought him in as an advisor. But before we talk about that, you have an advisory board, as do we, and it's something we find very valuable. Who in here, for their company, has an advisory board? Show of hands. 2, 3. James.
James, you don't count.
Yeah. I'm joking, James. I'm joking. what's been so valuable about advisory board? And because again, putting it together was one of the most valuable pieces for us. I'd love to hear from you. Why put it together? How?
Yeah. Well, because in the day-to-day grind of operating a business, you lose sight of the long-term strategy and focus, right? Because you're so worried about tackling the fire, right? Getting the checks out, getting the bill out, getting somebody paid, scheduling a meeting, like all those stuff takes time, right? So you need to have a person or a group of people that will take you out of the weeds every once in a while and say, hey, are we heading in the right direction, right? And that's what our advisory board does for us. Whenever I have a broader strategic question about the direction I want to take the company or an issue that I'm having, I can reach out to them. And each one has a specific role. It's like putting a team together. You don't put a team of 5 stars together, right? You're never going to win a championship, right? You need to have 5 stars, 3 stars, 4 stars. So we have a team of people, some very well known, some not so well known, but they all have their specific expertise. And so when I have an issue with something healthcare related, I reach out to our physician entrepreneurs that are on the advisory board to say, hey, from a clinical perspective, what do y'all think, right? If I have a logistics or a marketing or a fundraising question, I reach out to Chris.
Right.
So you got to have those different people that can help you in different arenas, because I don't know everything, right? And I don't want to make the wrong step. And so these people have been there, done that, can help you avoid those landmines.
So I think that's huge. Knowing that, hey, I don't know everything, and that's perfectly fine. I can still move forward. What made you want to put it together?
The advisory board?
Yeah, like because we can talk about it all day, and everybody can put it together, and that's fine. But you have to identify needs, right?
Yeah. So I mean, one of them is like it's expected. If you go sit in front of a sophisticated group of investors, they're going to look at whether or not you have an advisory board.
So there's a benefit there as well.
Yeah. So it is a check the box item.
Yeah.
But 2, it's for the exact same reason that I talked to you about.
Yeah.
Like being an entrepreneur is lonely, right? You're looked at to having all the answers, and so you need to have somebody that can help you get answers, right?
Right.
And at a large corporation, it's the board of directors. Well, we're not big enough to have a board of directors, so we have an advisory board that helps us because we have personal relationships with each individual.
How do you ask? We talk about mentorship a lot. You ask somebody, especially individual entrepreneurs in here, you only need maybe 1 or 2 people you go to in different categories. How do you make the ask for someone to have that official role? Do you have fast agreements with them? What is it what is your approach?
I think the first step is you got to sell them on your vision.
Yep.
Right? Which goes back to knowing what you're selling. So you need to sell them on your vision. I'm actually having coffee on Monday with a very well-known physician about joining our advisory board.
Yeah.
And he knows exactly what I'm selling, and I've already sold him on our vision and our future, and he buys into it. So it's very important that they buy into what you're doing. The ask is you don't have money to give them, right? Because if you're giving your advisory board any kind of cash compensation, you're doing yourself a disservice, because that's money you can put in your company. And they should know that. If they expect cash compensation, they're not your advisor.
You got the wrong person.
You got the wrong person.
So it's a non-paid role.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we give them a very, very small stock compensation in our company, and it's a 2-year gig, right? I have an advisor that didn't live up to his agreement, kick them out, or we're going to kick them out. And then I have some that have exceeded their expectations, and they will get compensated. So it's about finding the balance of how much of your company you're willing to give each individual person. And look, not everybody's the same. Some people get more than the others, right? Just like the real world. But you just gotta figure out who you value more, and then give them a little bit of your company. There's a lot of I think fear as far as I've felt in conversations with people about their shares. These are precious shares. These are so precious. I have these 100 shares. We make 100 a month. Like what? Like why? What is your thinking around shares, and why do you give them away? There's a reason you have to be okay with giving them away. Why? I'd rather own a small piece of a really large company than 50% of a really small company. That's just my personal philosophy. And if I feel like adding you to my company, and that takes equity to add you to my company, can take me from $10 million to $100 million, I will do it all day, every day, right? Because you're bringing value to me, whether it's in the form of connections, expertise that's going to drive the business, whatever it is, right? Monetary, whether it's monetary, non-monetary, you're going to help the company grow. And if I feel you can do that, I don't mind giving you a piece of my company. you see a lot on Shark Tank. A lot of people walk away from deals because they don't want to give away 10% of their company, whatever. I'm going to say they're foolish. There's like one or two that have made it since then, but most of them are foolish. I mean, you're getting the creme de la creme of investors and advisors to join your company that are going to help you. You can't have an ego about it. If you have an ego about it, you're probably not going to succeed in general, because you're just going to piss off customers, vendors, everybody, because you think you're right? So I'm willing to have a small piece of a big company.
Okay.
At the end of the day.
Yeah. Has anyone been that experience of giving away shares of their company? A couple. And if I may ask, have you regretted it, or has it been something that you've now followed through and gone, okay, it's been okay, I've gotten value back?
For us?
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
it was just a tool to leverage debt.
Yeah. And especially pre-revenue companies, you're early on, like that is what you have. And
that's your currency.
Yeah, that's your currency. And I'm not saying this to urge anyone, I'm just sharing because that's something I wish we would have learned earlier, to use the things that you have at your disposal. You can still be successful, but you're going to push and push and push, and you only have so much capacity. So I love the idea of advisory board. How'd you get Chris?
Yeah.
So Chris is a big name, man. I saw the press releases. That now the founder of a company that's IPO'd, all of it. So how'd you get Chris?
Yeah, so when we were kind of pivoting for the third time with our company, our new business model was very similar to Waiter. So I'm gonna plug my company, what we do. So traditional telemedicine is you pick up your phone, launch the app, you talk to your doctor on the phone, right? But what if you want a flu test or your child has an ear infection, then what? You still end up going to clinic, right? Well, through our platform, that clinic can actually send one of our nurses to your house or to your workplace to run the flu test, to look in the ear, do a comprehensive exam, send that information back to that doctor, and then he can make a diagnosis. And you don't even talk to him again, they just message you with the final results and send off a script. Does that sound like Waiter? Absolutely, right? Waiter does it with restaurants, we do it with clinics. Waiter uses drivers to get food from food from restaurants to homes. We use nurses to deliver healthcare, which is intangible, from the clinic to the patients. So when we were putting this together, I told James, I was like, we want to be the Waiter of healthcare. We said it inside the office, we want to be the Waiter of healthcare. We want to be the Waiter of healthcare. And so when I realized that James had a connection with Chris, I kind of told him, I was like, hey, we want to sit on that. We don't want to be too hyper aggressive with it and go at him right away. So we kind of let James formulate that relationship, get know him a little bit better. And that's when Waiter kind of was going through. We had sent an email saying, hey, we'd like to meet. He goes, sure, do it in July. This was probably, I think, February. July comes around, Waiter's going through their issues. So we're like, we're not going to reach out to him because this is probably the wrong time. He's probably highly stressed and he's not going to meet with us. Well, I think like 30 days later, he resigned, right? As soon as he resigned, I told James, I was like, let's email him. A guy like that does not want to sit around. And especially with an exit like that, there's a little bit of a, hey, I didn't want to go out that way, right? So we just emailed him, say, hey, we'd like to reconnect and meet. And he told in the interview, he actually met us because he knew James, not because he knew me or because he knew Relief, because he had a relationship with James. And he met us and we met, scheduled for an hour meeting, he ended up staying for 2 hours.
Wow.
Right? And what we did in that meeting that sold us was we listened. He just talked and we just listened. And he actually said it post after we signed all the agreements. He goes, that's when I realized that I can help these guys because they want to listen. They weren't just talking. They would ask a question and they would, we were trying to learn from him, right?
Yeah.
And we told him over and over, we see a lot of similarities between our company and your company. And he went back home and talked to his people and we met with him 3 times before he said yes, but it was very much we built a relationship with him, or James did, right? We found the right moment to leverage that relationship and we timed it, right? And so that's how it all came aboard. But ultimately we sold him on our vision, which was very similar to his vision for his company, right?
Yeah.
And we listened, as opposed to just talking about here's what we can do, here's how we can help, here's how you can help us. It's like, hey, we think here's how you can help us, and then he just went off and we listened. So that's kind of how we landed it, and it's been amazing. Like we learned more from him in that 1 hour that we talked to him as an advisor than we would in like.
Because he's been through the process.
Oh, absolutely.
Like even the same model, right? But
Mm-hmm.
he's 6 months down the road already saying, hey, by the way, it's a pothole right there.
Yep.
Watch out.
Right.
So
he got a little bit more than everybody else, but that's okay because
But
he's
the
already
va- the
saved,
value's there.
he's
The
saved
value's
us so
there.
much money already by not going down a certain path.
Right. So that came out of a connection, and this is where I would like to pivot to Baton Rouge, where we all live and where we all do business. Baton Rouge has its faults, but if you listen to leadership, it says we're open for business, and that's amazing. But there's challenges here in getting connected. But you've done a great job of actually building those connections. What's been your take on the community in Baton Rouge, and why are you still here?
I will say this. So when I go out of state to talk to investors, they're like, why? How are you going to grow this thing in Baton Rouge? And I tell them, because in Baton Rouge, I can get a meeting with anybody within 2 degrees of separation. That is, while it has its fault, that is the beauty of Baton Rouge. It is a small, big city. 9 times out of 10, if you go through your LinkedIn, you will find the person you want to meet, you will find a connection to them within a 3rd degree, right? So that's actually very much an advantage here, right?
Yeah.
I can meet with any hospital CEO, any major organization, because I can find somebody that works there that can connect me with them, right? So that leads me to the point is, I use LinkedIn like it's my lifeline.
Yeah.
I check it every day. I post. I check for new people that are on there that may be connected with me. People that connect with me, I usually just accept them.
And you don't even use Facebook, Instagram. I asked him,
I
I
don't
was like,
use
hey man,
Facebook,
can I tag you on
Instagram.
Facebook, Instagram?
Yeah.
He goes, I don't have those things. I'm
Yeah.
like, okay.
Yeah, I eat, breathe, and sleep.
Great,
I actually met
great.
James through LinkedIn, right?
Very nice.
It's actually been a lifeblood for me to meet people and to connect with people and
Yeah.
to learn from people. And so, just network. I get so many people in Baton Rouge just reach out to me and be like, hey, can you have coffee? And if I can fit it in my lunch schedule, if I can fit it in my schedule, I'll go have coffee with them.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if that person can help me in 6 months down the road.
Right. Okay, so let's, so in Baton Rouge, you're building connections. What about resources? So, many of us, now this is new. Start Grind is a brand new thing, and there's so many gaps in how we can move forward as entrepreneurs in this city. What have you done that you found successful that some of us can maybe take something away from?
For sure, I will always recommend the technology park.
Yes.
They are a great resource in town
Yeah.
to connect with like-minded entrepreneurs and co-founders. The people that are running companies or starting companies in there, in my life cycle, I may be here and they may be here, but I still reach out to them. I'm like, how are y'all handling this, right? How are y'all handling that? And you learn from them. So they're a great resource if you want to start a business and locate somewhere. If you just want advice from people,
Yep.
I think events like this are great because you have my information. You can pass it out to everybody. I will meet with anybody to help them.
Can you say what you said again? Who?
The Louisiana Technology Park, which is Todd right there.
And if you look on your badge, they're actually the sponsors of the event itself, so bottom right.
Yeah. Another great resource that I found is the Chamber, BRAC.
Okay.
So, they're trying to promote all this. So
We have a BRAC representative here as well. Monica, raise your hand.
Yeah. So they've been helpful in getting in there. And then the other thing is, I am very aggressive with like, hey, I want to be on this show. I want to
Yes.
talk at this panel. I want to speak at this. I want to be a part of this. Because the more you get yourself out there,
Yep.
the better it is. Look, you got to use all your personal things that you do on Snapchat, Instagram, Facebook, and how you promote yourself. Use the same concepts in the business world. You got to elevate your personal brand. And you can be a nobody. So I just had coffee with somebody. She went to Episcopal. She left. She lived in India for 7 years. She moved to New York for a startup for 5 years, and she just came here in June. She already had 6 job interviews, and
Wow.
she met with 30 people, and she doesn't know anybody in town. She goes, I came back and I didn't know anybody, but she was constantly on LinkedIn just messaging people saying, hey, I want to meet and
Yeah.
I want to talk. And she goes, look, 10 people probably say no, but 3 people say yes. And then she asked for a referral. She's like, hey, is there somebody that can connect me that can help me?
Yeah.
So you just got to be out there, and just like you're constantly posting on Snapchat or Instagram, you got to be posting so that eventually your brand gets elevated.
Okay. So you said something really interesting, and I love the aggressiveness of you want to be on something. You see a podcast, you're like, oh, that's really cool. Reaching out and saying, put me on that now.
Yeah.
What do I need to do? What do I need to share with you to get on there? I love that. Okay. So having said that, what is the approach for people to do so? How do you ask? Is it going through referral always? Because there's so many tactics out there. You have to know someone. you should be referred, or
Yeah.
just flat out send the message?
I built my LinkedIn network by just saying, one, you got to have something that you feel you can provide, and we all can provide something. You just got to find it, right? And you just reach out to that person on LinkedIn and say, hey, I think we may be able to mutually help each other,
Yeah.
right? And you don't really have to say what it is. They can look at your profile and judge whether or not they can help you or not. At the end of the day, you got to be able to help somebody.
Yeah.
And then if that person thinks that you can help them, then you can just meet up for coffee, and that's how you kind of get started. But a lot of it's just reaching out saying, hey, I think I can offer something of value. I think we can help each other out mutually in this arena. Let's hook up for coffee.
I love that. I love that. And look, everybody has on their badges. It says, "Here's my experience. Here's my need." Part of that is, and we gave you cards on some people we recommend that you should go say hello to. There's more than just asking for help.
Mm-hmm.
You have value to give in so many areas that you may not see in this moment. You may have the guy that has $50,000, right? But he also needs help in design, and I can help him in that. So being able to approach people in the right way and offering that value is huge.
I think there was somebody here that said they help build plants, like YouTube, right? Yeah. So project management. There's a lot of people out there that can't manage their time. You can offer that as a way to help somebody, right? And it can be project management for a commercial building, right? But it's the same. I used to work for an industrial contractor. That's why I know Ray Shaw. Like, it's the same concepts, huh?
We're right behind you.
Turner. Yeah, so, it's the same concepts, right? It's just you're dumbing it down and applying it. So it's really about just digging deep, and it's almost like a job interview, right?
Yeah.
Like, you kind of BS your resume a little bit, but not too much, but you got to find the value that you can bring to the table.
So there's 2 parts left. One, talking about the value you can bring to the table. What is one thing you would leave everyone here with that they can go out and do, or they should think about on their entrepreneurial journey?
Don't be scared. That's the biggest thing. Like, it took me a little while to realize that I always felt like people were judging me, every word I said, how I approached, all that stuff. People don't care at the end of the day.
Yeah.
True, genuine people that are going to help you want to help. And they don't care how you present, or how you talk, or how you dress, or what you look like. They just want to know that you have a passion for what you're doing. So don't be scared to just put yourself out there, because guess what? The worst thing that somebody can tell you is what? No.
Yeah.
And guess what? You move on,
I love
right? Because there's somebody going to be out there that can help you, right? And when that person helps you, it's going to feel so great to know that you've connected with somebody that's helping you. And for that person, it feels good that they help somebody, right?
Yeah.
I love when people reach out to me and they're like, "Oh, you helped me do this." That makes me feel great.
Yeah.
And so you just can't be scared. You just it's hard. It's a tough bullet to bite, especially if you've never done it. But you just got to kind of put yourself out there, and if you're going to be an entrepreneur, you got to be able to talk to people you've never met before, and you've got to be able to take a note. So it's almost like a learning process to get there.
Okay, so last part. This is rapid fire questions. You have 5 seconds to answer. We'll start from the top. Business plan, yes or no?
No.
Okay. Why? I'm joking. You can't answer. You can't get to 5 seconds.
You pitch that. No business plan.
Pitch that. No business plan. Coke or Pepsi?
Coke.
All right. He is Southern. He is from the South. Favorite app?
Relieftelemed.
I like that.
Always be selling.
Go-to-market strategy, globally or locally?
Locally first.
Smart. Vanilla or chocolate?
Neither. I don't like ice cream.
You don't like ice cream? Okay, that's fine. It's just, it's odd. Co-working space, yes or no?
What was it?
Co-working space, yes or no?
Hybrid.
Hybrid. Okay, you can't change the answer. You have to choose.
Co-working space suck because there's no privacy and there's a lot of distractions. You gotta have a hybrid approach where there's a little bit of privacy.
I'll take it. Team, single founder or you find co-founders?
Co-founders.
Absolutely. Prototype user validation, yes or no? Before going to market. A prototype. So would you build
MVP.
a prototype first? Yes.
MVP, yes. Absolutely.
Okay. Exit fast or grow?
Depends on how much money people want to pay you.
Last one, sushi or tacos?
Tacos.
I love it. Hey, thank you.
All right. Hey, good luck, Vishal.